Welcome back to Narrations. Tonight's story begins in a room. Not a metaphorical room. A real one. Small. Locked. Windowed only by a square of sky. For one little boy, that room is the entire universe. For his mother, it is a prison she has spent years trying to survive. This is room. It's about captivity. About imagination. And about a mother who builds an entire world just to protect her child from the truth. Every morning begins the same way. Jack opens his eyes and greets the objects around him. Hello, lamp. Hello, table. Hello, rug. To him, these are not objects. They are companions. Because Jack has never known anything beyond this space. He is 5 years old. And this single room, roughly 10 by 10 feet, is his entire universe. There is a bed where he sleeps with his mother. A small kitchenette where meals are cooked on a hot plate. A toilet hidden behind a short wall for privacy. A wardrobe where he sometimes hides during games. And high above them, a small square skylight that shows a patch of sky. That square of sky is the only window to the outside world. Jack's mother, whom he calls simply Ma, has constructed a life here. She maintains routines. Exercise every morning. Lessons during the day. Stories before bed. She teaches Jack numbers, words, drawing, and imagination. But she also teaches him something else, something quieter and more essential. How to live inside a cage without realizing it is one. Because Jack does not know he is imprisoned. To him, the world outside the television is not real. The television shows oceans, animals, cities, crowds of people, but Ma has told him those things exist only in stories. Like cartoons. Like dreams. Because if Jack understood the truth, that those things exist and he cannot reach them, the pain might break him. And Ma cannot allow that. But the room is not theirs alone. Every night, another presence enters. Jack calls him Old Nick. Old Nick is the man who kidnapped Ma when she was 17. 7 years ago, she was taken from her ordinary life and locked inside this shed behind a house. Old Nick brings food sometimes. Sometimes medicine. Sometimes nothing. When Old Nick arrives, Jack hides in the wardrobe. Ma tells him it's a game. He must stay silent. Still. Invisible. Jack does not question it. Because children trust the rules they are given. For Ma, those nights are unbearable. But she endures them for one reason. Jack. She protects him from seeing the truth of what happens when Old Nick visits. She protects him from knowing how he was conceived. She protects him from the knowledge that they are prisoners. Years pass inside that tiny space. Jack grows taller. More curious. And the room begins to feel smaller. He asks more questions now. Questions Ma cannot easily answer anymore. Why can't we go outside? Why are there no other people? Why does Old Nick control the door? The illusion she built is starting to crack. And Ma realizes something terrifying. If Jack continues growing up inside this room, he will never survive the outside world. He will become too afraid of it. Too dependent on the small safety of these walls. So she does something she has avoided for 5 years. She tells him the truth. Everything on television is real. There are oceans. There are cities. There are thousands of people. And they are being held here against their will. Jack reacts with anger. The room was safe. The room made sense. Now Ma has destroyed the only reality he understood. But Ma tells him something even more shocking. They are going to escape. The plan is desperate. And incredibly dangerous. Ma pretends that Jack has become seriously ill. When Old Nick arrives, she tells him the boy has died. Jack must play dead. He must lie perfectly still while Old Nick wraps him in a rug to dispose of the body outside. If Old Nick suspects anything, the punishment will be brutal. But if the plan works, Jack will finally leave the room. For the first time in his life. The night arrives. Jack is wrapped tightly inside the rug. He can barely breathe. Old Nick carries him out. And suddenly, the world appears. For the first time ever, Jack sees trees. Sky stretching endlessly above him. Wind. Movement. The truck stops. Jack rolls out and runs. He runs with no sense of direction, just fear and instinct. A man walking his dog sees the frightened child stumbling down the road. Jack tells him about the room. About Ma still trapped inside. The police arrive quickly. Jack guides them. And for the first time in 7 years, the door opens. Ma walks out. Into the world. The world outside the room is too big. For Jack, freedom does not feel like relief. It feels terrifying. After the police rescue Ma, she and Jack are rushed to a hospital. Doctors check them carefully. Nurses ask questions gently. Social workers move around the room with careful voices. But Jack barely listens. He stares. Not of the room anymore, but of losing the fragile bond she built with Jack inside it. Outside, the story spreads quickly. News channels report the rescue of a woman kidnapped years earlier and the child who was born in captivity. Cameras gather outside the hospital. Reporters discuss the case with fascination. For them, it is a shocking story. For Ma, it is her life. Soon Ma's parents arrive. Jack has never met grandparents before. To him, they are strangers. His grandmother tries to hug him, but Jack stiffens in confusion. Physical affection from anyone besides Ma feels wrong. His grandfather struggles more openly. He looks at Jack, a living reminder of the trauma his daughter endured, and finds it difficult to reconcile love with grief. The family is reunited, but nothing feels simple. They move into the grandmother's house, hoping to build a new life. But outside the room, Ma is no longer the protector of a small universe. She is a survivor facing a world that kept moving while she was gone. She has to relearn everything. How to sleep without fear. How to exist in public spaces. How to make decisions that are no longer about immediate survival. Jack faces an entirely different struggle. The world overwhelms him. The sky seems endless. The wind is loud. Rooms are too large. There are too many people. For a child whose entire life existed within 4 walls, the outside world feels chaotic and unpredictable. At first, Jack refuses to leave the house. He clings to Ma constantly. The room was small, but it was understandable. This world is infinite. And infinity is frightening. One day, a television interview is arranged. Ma agrees reluctantly, believing it might help explain the truth and control the narrative before speculation grows worse. But the interview turns uncomfortable. The interviewer asks a question that cuts deeply. Why didn't she try harder to escape earlier? Why did she choose to keep the baby? The implication stings. As if survival were a choice she handled incorrectly. Ma holds herself together during the interview, but afterward the pressure collapses inward. For years she was strong because Jack needed her to be. Now that they are safe, the trauma finally surfaces. She falls into deep depression. One night, overwhelmed by guilt and exhaustion, Ma attempts to take her own life. Jack wakes up to find her gone. Doctors save her in time, but the moment fractures Jack's sense of safety. For the first time, he must face the possibility that Ma cannot always protect him. And slowly, something shifts. Jack begins adapting to the outside world in ways Ma struggles to. He learns about dogs. About playgrounds. About the way wind moves through trees. Children adapt more quickly than adults. Where Ma sees loss, Jack begins discovering wonder. He cuts his long hair, something Ma had cherished inside the room as a symbol of strength, and sends it to her while she recovers in the hospital. The gesture becomes a quiet message. He is learning to be brave too. Eventually, Ma returns home. But their relationship has changed slightly. Inside the room, Ma was everything. Teacher. Protector. Entire universe. Now the world contains other people. Other possibilities. And Ma must learn to share Jack with reality. Before moving forward fully, Jack asks for one last thing. He wants to see the room again. The place that was once his entire world. At first, Ma resists. The thought of returning there feels unbearable. But eventually she agrees. The police take them back to the shed. Now that the door is open, the room looks smaller. Almost unbelievably small. Jack walks through it slowly. He touches the objects he once greeted every morning. Lamp. Table. Wardrobe. But they no longer feel like companions. They feel like things. The room that once contained the whole universe is now just a room. Jack says goodbye to it. And then he leaves. This time for good. Room isn't only a story about escaping captivity. It's about a mother who built an entire world out of love so her child could survive inside the worst possible situation. And it's about a little boy who slowly learns that the world is much bigger than the room he once believed was everything. Sometimes survival isn't the end of the story. Learning how to live afterward is. If you enjoyed listening to this narration, please like, share, and subscribe for more movie stories. I'll see you in the next one.